हम श्री गुरो श्रीयुता पदकमलं श्री गुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्री रूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजना सहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान् सहगना ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च नमो ओम विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशधारिणे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामिने गौरत्विषे नमः। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगतपते गोपेशा गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। Okay, so we had quite a detailed discussion on the 6th and the 7th verses. So we'll go on to the 8th verse. So the 6th verse, Vyasadeva spoke about what is the topmost dharma, parodharma. In the 7th verse, he described what are the effects of the practice of this parodharma, that is pure devotional service. And now he is speaking about what should be the result of the practice of dharma. 8th verse. Dharma smanushtita pumsam vishvaksena kathasu yah notpadyed yadiratim shrama eva hi kevalam. The occupational activities a man performs according to his own position are only so much useless labor if they do not provoke attraction for the message of the personality of Godhead. So, dharma svanushtitaha pumsa. So, by the practice of one's prescribed duties, the result of that practice, if it is not Vishvaksena Tasu Rati, if one does not develop Rati, attraction for the messages of the Supreme Lord, or for devotional service in general, then it is only Shrama Evahi Kevala, then it's only a waste of time. So, as Srila Prabhupada explains, there are two types of dharma or two types of occupational duties. What are they?
Conditional occupation.
And?
Constitution.
Yes, that's right. So conditional duties and constitutional duties. Conditional duties are?
Related to material body.
Okay, related to material body. What are they? Yes, the Varnashram duties. So the Varnashram duties according to the body, especially the Varnas, they are according to the influence of the modes on the body. So that's the conditional duties. And the constitutional duties are what? Yes, so in relation to our constitutional position as the eternal servant of Krishna. So by performing both these duties, conditional duties as well as constitutional duties, the result should be Vishwaksena Katha Rati. The result should be developing an attraction for Krishna Katha. Srila Prabhupada, in the purport, he describes how most people in this world are simply concerned about the duties related to the body. So therefore, he says, the gross materialist who cannot say anything beyond the gross material body, he says there's nothing beyond the senses. Therefore, his occupational activities are limited to concentrated and extended selfishness, because they don't know anything more than the body and the mind. So then, most people know only about the body. If they know something about the mind, then they can become mental speculators. And there are so many isms. At the end of the first paragraph, Prabhupada writes, but above the body and the mind is the dormant spirit soul, whose absence from the body makes the whole range of bodily and mental selfishness completely null and void. Okay, so one may perform so many activities for the body, for the mind, but if there is no spirit soul, neither the bodily activities can be done, nor the mental activities can. Everything becomes zero. So, but less intelligent people have no information of the needs of the spirit soul. Okay. In the next paragraph, he says, the question of the satisfaction of the self is raised herein. Further down, the body and the mind are but superfluous outer coverings of the spirit soul. The spirit soul's needs must be fulfilled. Simply by cleansing the cage of the bird, one does not satisfy the bird. One must actually know the needs of the bird himself. So we hear these analogies many times. The bird and the cage. Who's the bird in the cage? Me. I. Not some other soul. I am that bird trapped in the cage of the material body. So we give this analogy, we think some other bird, some other soul is trapped in a cage. We forget that I am also trapped in this cage. So, the need of the spirit soul is that he wants to get out of the limited sphere of material bondage and fulfill his desire for complete freedom. He wants to get out of the covered walls of the greater universe. He wants to see the free light and the spirit. So everyone wants freedom, correct? Throughout the world, there have been so many revolutions, so much of fighting, so much of bloodshed, so many movements for what? Freedom, independence, the independence movement. So much of struggle for independence. So that is the need of the soul. There is a need for freedom, for independence. But then, as Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur told Srila Prabhupada, that what is this independence from the British? That's no real independence. But the fact that people are fighting for independence goes to show that there is an inner need of the soul for that freedom. And you can see it everywhere. During Srila Prabhupada's times, when Srila Prabhupada was in the US, there was quite a good movement about women's liberation. The women were feeling they are being oppressed, suppressed. Freedom. We want freedom. So everywhere you find. So you find sometimes the workers go on strike. Doctors go on strike. So many people go on strike. For what? Ultimately, it's freedom. They want freedom. We want what we like. That means we want freedom. And therefore, in the US at that time, when the US draft board was drafting the young men into the army for the Vietnam War, so these young people felt, Arey, our freedom is being taken away. We are being forced. Force means what? No freedom. We are being forced. Freedom has been taken away. We'll revolt. And that's how what started? Yes, the hippie movement started. We don't listen to anyone. We won't listen to parents. We won't listen to government. We won't listen to anyone. We are on our own. We do what we like. So you see, throughout history we find this. There is a craving for freedom. As soon as there are some rules and regulations, people feel suffocated, stifled in their freedom. So therefore we find, especially in India, nobody wants to obey traffic laws, correct? At the slightest chance, if either the signals are off, of course, even if signals are on, it doesn't make a big difference. But if there is no policeman, then finished. Nobody wants to obey any laws. Why? Again, freedom. And then people think, okay, we want freedom, we will be free, we will smoke, we will drink, we will do whatever we like. That's our freedom. We do what we like. But they fail to understand what is real freedom. And therefore, Srila Prabhupada has written in the second chapter, 64th verse of the Gita. What is it? Rag dvesha vimuktestu Vishyan indriyas charan Atma vasher videyatma prasadam adhigacchati. See Prabhupada's translation to that. Prabhupada writes the regulative principles of freedom. Huh? Regulative principles of freedom. People feel by following rules and regulations, freedom is being taken away. But here it is said regulative principles of freedom. That means by following these rules and regulations, there will actually be freedom. The ultimate freedom is what? What is ultimate freedom?
Freedom from birth and death, old age.
Yes, freedom from birth, death, old age and disease.
3 modes of eternation.
Yes, 3 modes. The 3 modes are like ropes binding all the living entities. So the real freedom is becoming free from those 3 modes. Devi Shagunamayi Mama Maya Duratyaya Mam Eva Ye Prabhadyante Mayam Etam Tarantate. So therefore, the way to actually gain freedom is by surrendering to the Supreme Lord. The more one surrenders, the more freedom one gets. This is always a principle, correct? Srila Prabhupada gives 2 examples very often. Anybody can say what are these examples? The more one surrenders, there is more freedom. Huh?
One example, when the cow is tied to a rope, limited freedom, we can give more.
Okay.
Child example.
What's the child example?
As much as he surrenders.
Correct.
That kitchen toy.
No, you're correct. So basically, if a father has 2 sons, one son is very mischievous, not obeying the father. One son is very obedient to the father. Who gets more freedom? The obedient son gets more freedom. So the father will tell him about the bank accounts and give more responsibility of that. Because he knows, what does he know? he will not misuse the freedom. The other example is?
Prisoner,
Yes.
he's allowed to go.
Yes, so just like the citizens who obey the laws of the state, they are given freedom. As soon as they become mischievous and they don't obey the laws of the state, what's happening? Put into the jail. Freedom is curtailed. Freedom is taken away. Why? Because he's misusing the freedom. So similarly, we have been in the spiritual world. We decided to enjoy on our own. We decided to go against the law. We wanted so-called freedom. So okay, sent to this material world, which is like a jail. So therefore, the important point is that more one surrenders, one actually gets more freedom. And this is against one's common logical understanding. The common logical understanding is surrender means freedom is being taken away. No, but it doesn't work that way. Even from a materialistic point of view, we see that. And therefore, Narad Muni has full freedom. Correct? He has almost as much freedom as the Supreme Lord. He goes wherever he likes, preaches, he does whatever he wants. So therefore, the more one surrenders, the more one properly follows rules and regulations, one can experience real freedom. The chain smoker, he's thinking, I'm free to smoke as much as I like. But what's the reality? A slave of the habits. He's becoming a slave of his habit. So where is his freedom? Freedom is being taken away. Therefore, but the point is, that Srila Prabhupada is explaining, the soul has the hankering for that freedom. The hankering is there for the freedom. But how to achieve that freedom? Prabhupada writes a beautiful statement. That complete freedom is achieved when he meets the complete spirit, the personality of Godhead. That's how one can achieve complete freedom, when one meets the complete spirit, the personality of Godhead. So the more one surrenders to the Supreme Lord, the complete spirit, the more one can actually experience freedom. There is a dormant affection for God within everyone. Spiritual existence is manifested through the gross body and mind in the form of perverted affection for gross and subtle matter. Therefore, we have to engage ourselves in occupational engagements that will evoke a divine consciousness. This is possible only by hearing and chanting the divine activities of the Supreme Lord. And any occupational activity which does not help one to achieve attachment for hearing and chanting the transcendental message of Godhead is said herein to be simply a waste of time. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem Sadhya Kabanoy Shravanadi Shuddha Chitte Kuroye Udoy. Evokes. The translation of Udoy is evokes. So love for God is naturally present within the heart of every living entity, but that love has to be evoked by Shravanadi, by hearing, chanting, and the other processes of devotional service. The love for God has to be evoked, aroused. It's already there, but now it's in a dormant state. It has to be aroused, and it can be aroused only by hearing and chanting. And so all one's occupational duties should lead to arousal of that divine consciousness. That should be the purpose. And therefore, further down Prabhupada says that this is because other occupational duties, whatever ism they may belong to, cannot give liberation to the soul, because they're all on the bodily platform. Even the activities of the salvationists, that means the jnanis, are considered to be useless because of their failure to pick up the fountainhead of all liberties. These are some amazing phrases Srila Prabhupada uses. The fountainhead of all liberties. Therefore, the Supreme Lord is called Mukunda. Mukunda, the giver of mukti, the fountainhead of all liberties. So only Krishna can give liberation to the conditioned soul. So the Jnanis, because they fail to develop their relationship with Mukunda, Krishna, the fountainhead of all liberties, therefore they also cannot get actual liberation. What they get is so-called liberation. They don't get actual liberation because they don't develop their relationship with the fountainhead of all liberties. And then what to speak of the gross materialists. And the last statement is beautiful statement. The hankering soul must be satisfied by the perfect scientific process of perfect devotional service. Some of Srila Prabhupada's statements can definitely be memorized. They are so filled with so much of meaning and are so beautiful even from a material perspective in terms of the way these sentences have been written. The hankering soul, the soul is hankering for what? Freedom. The soul is hankering for freedom, just like the bird in the cage. The bird in the cage is also hankering for what? Freedom. The hankering soul must be satisfied. That means there is no other way. Must be satisfied by what? The perfect scientific process of perfect devotional service. So that means perfect devotional service is a perfect science. And I think so we discussed this before also, how devotional service is a science. So it's a science. We follow it, there's going to be result. Don't follow it, there's going to be the opposite result. So it's a perfect science. So, therefore, Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 8th chapter, as he's giving instructions to Arjuna, he's saying in the 7th verse, what did he say? In the 8th chapter, 7th verse. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara yudhya cha. So, mam anusmara yudhya cha. He doesn't tell him to just fight. Fighting was his occupational duty, but he just doesn't tell him to fight. What does he say? Remembering me, fight. Because in the previous two verses, what Krishna said? Antakale chamameva smaran muktva kalevaram yam yam vapi smaran bhavam. So you see in the previous two verses, what is the stress given to? Smaran, remembrance. And therefore, in the 7th verse is giving an instruction to Arjuna. Remembering me, fight. The goal of the fighting is also remembrance. Smartavya satam Vishnu vismartavyo na jantu chit sarve vidhi nishedasyor etayor eva kinkaraha. The purpose of all rules and regulations is always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. So sometimes, even within the society of devotees, there seem to be two propositions. Two groups, if you want to say. So one group of devotees says that the sadhana activities which enhance our remembrance are most important. Therefore, chant as much as you can, if possible, You can chant 64 rounds every day. Read the Bhagavatam as much as you can. And if you get some time after all that, you can do some service. So we find some devotees with that proposition. And we find some other devotees with another proposition. They say, quoting Srila Prabhupada, work now, samadhi later. So just do services, practical services. As far as chanting, reading Bhagavatam is concerned, somehow try to finish 16 rounds in 24 hours. Before 12 a.m. of the next day. And if you manage to attend some Bhagavatam class someday, it's good enough. And as far as courses like this are concerned, don't become jnani, come on. Is this hypothetical or it's true? So we all have experience. We usually do this in Bhagavad Gita when we discuss that verse 8.7. But anyways, nobody attended Bhagavad Gita. I didn't take here, right? Bhagavad Gita? Did I take? No. Okay. So fine, so we will repeat that here, what we usually do for Bhagavad Gita. So we have a small debate. You ready for a debate? Okay. So what you do is, without making too much noise, just turn around and make groups of 3. Turn around and make groups of 3, just where you're sitting. Of course, if you want to move around, that's also fine. So it's all 3. Who's there? Now try to make it 3 only 3. 3 per group. Okay, I think so. Prabhu is extra. Huh? So you can join any group. So you have freedom now. ठीक है, कहीं तो join करो. अच्छा, here also 4, huh? क्या? हाँ ठीक है, आप 4 लोग हैं. और here 1, okay, 1 and 1. Here also there are 4. 2 join. 1 from here and 1 from this 4. 2. One more is coming. Good. Yeah, we are just waiting for you. We didn't start the class so far, you know. We are just waiting for you. See, you have to make a group of 3. Jao, kahin to jao. Make a group of 3. See, here there is some extra chair. Come here. And from this 4, somebody come here. Okay, good. So क्या? अच्छा वहाँ भी एक्स-रे, कोई बात नहीं, ठीक. Okay, so we told two propositions. You remember? So A proposition is sadhana more important than service. Okay. B proposition is service more important than sadhana. Okay, so now amongst you three, you decide who wants to take the A proposition and who wants to take the B proposition. In your groups, you decide who wants to be A and who wants to be B. One. Decided? Okay, all the A's raise hands. नहीं यहाँ कोई डिसाइड नहीं हुआ क्या? Okay, good. All the B's raise hand. No, only one A, one B. You decide who's B. We'll let you know. Okay, so now the C, so the A, Hare Krishna, please listen. So A and B will have a debate. Okay, so you stick to your propositions and you prove your proposition to be right. Okay, and the C is a neutral witness. So the C has to give the final conclusion. Okay, so the C is going to report the findings of A and B. All right, clear what to do? Everyone clear what to do?
Yes.
Okay, so we give you exactly 5 minutes. Okay, so go ahead. So the C should make some notes, huh? C should make some notes.
देखो ये सेवा सॉरी सेवा है आपका देखिए आगे पीछे साधना सेवा के लिए है सेवा के
One minute more. Okay, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, can we have your attention, please? You can continue the debate after the class. Yes, Kali means Kalaha. Okay, so let's hear from everyone. The C's, whoever is C will have to report their findings. Okay, so let's begin from here. So just briefly tell, very briefly you tell what's your observation, finding, very precise.
Hare Krishna. So, although like they were presenting their respective viewpoints, but underneath in their heart, they both were knowing
No,
that.
don't say what we never told you to read their hearts or minds. We told you to just present what
Because
was
they
said.
were saying it
What was
again.
said.
Yes. So, one devotee, the Manik Prabhu, Manmohan Prabhu, he was saying that seva is more important because revelation will not come without service. Plus, he as per his nature, he is more comfortable in doing service. So that's why it is good for him to do
Okay.
service.
Okay, fine. What's the other viewpoint?
Other viewpoint, like the Harinarayan Prabhu quoted from Srila Prabhupada's letter, like Prabhupada said, if somebody is reading 8 hours, then let him read. And if
Why?
you-
Why?
that I don't know. And
Okay, fine. So service is important because service leads to realization. That's the point here.
also, like one good point that he said was, कि without sadhana, the service will be considered as material, just like a mundane work.
Okay,
Because-
without sadhana, the service will be done in a material consciousness.
Material consciousness.
Okay, that's a good point. Okay, fine. Okay, that's good. Okay, let's pass.
Hare Krishna. Most of the points are same as there's 2 points. Which is towards
You tell one other point which is like a highlight.
one point which sadhana priority people the devotee mentioned is it sets a sadhana oriented devotee. He says that to sustain a person in long run, initially we can engage him in some service. Newcomers, but to sustain him in a long run, definitely we have to give some philosophical feeding. In that way, reading books, that is more
Okay, so for straightness and devotional service, the sadhana is important.
important.
Okay. Okay, fine. Thank you. One point. You can just tell one point.
Though the devotee Madhav Sundar Prabhu, he was for sadhana.
No need to take any names. Just tell your
He
finding.
said that our past life anarthas have to be cleared by sadhana.
Okay, fine. Okay, so the anarthas have to be cleared by sadhana.
And the other devotee was for seva first. He said that it is like a sandwich, morning, evening sadhana, and during the day do seva.
Okay, okay, good points. Let's hear from this side.
Our team is tied. They said that Utman is we have to do that much service, and for sadhana we will get time. So we have to keep a optimum balance where.
So what do you mean by an optimum balance?
Optimum is because by sadhana we get to know why I am doing service, and by service the heart get purified to do sadhana. So that optimum balance we have to keep.
Okay, very good point. Very good point. Next.
Hare Krishna. So here devotee said that Srila Prabhupada has made these temples for doing sadhana.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, workers service to that can be
But you
done
can
by
employ
workers.
people who are doing all the work.
But the other point is that we cannot do sadhana all the time in Kali Yuga. So service is also there for enhancing sadhana.
Mm.
So both like that.
Okay, okay, fine, good points.
Hare Krishna. So one example is given of hen. It gives eggs from backside. So if we just give more importance to the eggs and not caring for the head,
Mm.
then you will lose all the eggs also.
Uh-huh. So,
Means-
so you have to explain your analogy. Huh? Who's
Sure.
the hen, who's the egg?
Means sadhana, head is sadhana and egg giving part is service.
Oh, I
So if
see.
you want just eggs, just want to get some service from the devotees
Mhm.
and don't give them enough time to sadhana, to do sadhana, then that will not work.
Mm-hmm. Why it won't work? Why it won't work?
While doing services, if they are not focusing on sadhana, then bad tendencies will come in the service. Like they will be doing service for name, fame, money, and some material things.
Mm-hmm. Okay, okay, good points, good
And
points.
one more point. So it's called. It said that in Kali Yuga, Sarva Sadhana Badaka. You
What's
can
that?
do Sarva Sadhana Badaka. Kali Yuga doesn't allow
This is,
one.
which shastra is this?
I have heard. I don't know.
But you have to quote from some shastra. Huh?
I heard from devotees only. I don't know.
Oh, I
Scripture.
see.
But Kali Yuga stops the person from doing sadhana. So what sadhana you will do in this Kali Yuga? So better to focus on service.
Mm-hmm.
That was the point.
Acha, acha, acha. Okay, 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 fine, good points. Next.
So, the sadhana is like the philosophy. As Prabhupada said that famous statement, philosophy without practice is just mental speculation. And religion, correct, practice. And religion without philosophy will be just mental speculation. So we have to strike a perfect balance between sadhana and service. One analogy is sadhana is like eating food and doing seva is like digesting that prasad. So both are important, has to be there. Otherwise, it will not be a good combination.
Good, we're hearing some new analogies today. Huh? Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hi.
So both party are there extreme.
Yeah, we wanted them to be extreme.
So one is telling that on the name of sadhana, sometimes waste of time is there.
In the name of sadhana, waste of time. Then it is not sadhana.
But it's so they're telling that I'm doing
Okay, they're making
sadhana.
a show of sadhana. Okay.
And seva is easy to perform than sadhana
Acha, what?
because we are more on bodily platform.
Mm-hmm.
So sadhana is more on mental platform.
Mental platform.
Another group is telling that sadhana is better because even Narad Muni told Dhruva and Prahlad Maharaj to do sadhana. No, seva.
And who's Dhruva and Prahlad?
And if even sadhana is not strong, then sometimes seva becomes bother.
Okay. When sadhana is not strong, seva becomes a burden. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, good points.
Hare Krishna. Everyone has different inclination to. Some has inclination to seva, some has inclination to sadhana. So both will purify us. And we have to engage every devotee according to their nature. Their
Okay, so if somebody likes sadhana, they can do sadhana. If somebody likes service, they can do service. Good, very nice. Full freedom. Liberated souls.
So in my group, A and B has
sufficiently debated.
Ah.
So, but finally, they come to this point that whether the sadhana or service is designed by our spiritual master, whether you do service or sadhana, so both have same capacity to please Krishna and go back to Godhead. So according to the direction of spiritual master, whatever according to our psychophysical nature, we decide that and do that, you will get the real liberation.
Okay.
Krishna.
So just leave it to the spiritual master. I have no role to play. Okay, it's a valid point. It's not a wrong point. It's a valid point. Okay.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Sadhana is more important, just like example given by Prabhuji that Akinchan Krishnadas Babaji was chanting entire day. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur then they said that let him chant entire day. So sadhana is more important in this regard. And B, whereas service is more important. So once Prabhupada so one of the disciple of Prabhupada he was offering some prayers from Srimad Bhagavatam to Prabhupada. So Prabhupada said, do some practical service.
Correct.
So these are the main points out of.
Achha. Okay. And what did you say?
So whatever we have been told to do, that we have to do
Okay.
by our superiors.
Okay, so you are fully surrendered. That's good.
Hare Krishna. So me and Nimananda Prabhu were discussing. So one point from either side. Service is important. The example is given that Ata Shri Krishna Namadi na bhavet grahya mandriya, because our senses are blunt. Will not be able to experience anything higher unless we are purified by Sevan Mukhi Jivadu. And the other side is we need to purify ourselves before we execute the seva nicely. The example is of Vyasadeva when he Bhakti Yogena Manasi Samyak Pranahite Amale Apashyat Purusham Purna Mayam Charat Abhashram. So when he had to write Bhagavatam, he meditated first. Then he got realization of Krishna and Maya both. And then he could do the seva nicely. Also Prachitas and all the examples in Srimad Bhagavatam, before taking on good responsibilities, one has to purify himself. So both sides.
Okay, fine. Okay, very good. Okay, fine. So thank you for the participation. So we'll just try to once again sort of revise or analyze what will be the results of going to the extremes. In conditioned life, there's always a tendency to go to the extremes. The tendency is there because the extreme is usually what I feel is best. So if you take this extreme, the A extreme is the sadhana. Sadhana is priority, going to an extreme in that, an extreme. So one is hardly interested in doing any practical service, and one just sort of shuts himself off from practical services. What will be the result of that situation?
Sadhana will dry up after some time.
Why?
Because he's not getting any rasas from this. There is no service.
So why there's no rasa? Bhagavatam is full of rasa, we just read.
The soul is meant to serve someone, so he's not serving to the Lord.
So isn't sadhana service?
Practical service is not.
So why that practical service is required? Okay, fine. Your point is correct. Let's hear from somebody else. Anybody else?
Body has nature to be active, and if we are doing sadhana only and not engaging the body according to its nature, then we cannot continue for a long time.
Okay. So the body is pushed by the modes. The body is influenced by the modes. So therefore we cannot just be inactive. Okay, fine. Some other points? Vishnu?
Once His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj was doing Govardhan Parikrama, and he saw one disciple who is doing Dandavat Parikrama. So he saw Maharaj and say, "Oh Maharaj, by your mercy I am able to do this from last 20 days I am doing." And Maharaj said, "Hare Krishna," and went ahead. And after Maharaj spoke to other disciple, I told him to go and do book distribution. So the disciple was telling Maharaj, such a wonderful disciple of yours, this and he is doing just tapasya. This is nonsense. I told him to do book distribution and he's doing this.
Mm.
And like, what is the use of such?
Mm.
So we will not able to receive such grace from spiritual master,
Mhm.
or it is not blessed sadhana.
Mm.
So the
Yes,
purpose is
that's
not fun.
yes, that's a very important point. And so therefore, if we do some, so sadhana is definitely purifying. The chanting of the holy names, the study of the Srimad Bhagavatam, it's all purifying, no doubt. But then there are 2 points. One point is, does one have the adhikar to do that throughout the day, 24 hours? Does one have the adhikar to do that? Srila Prabhupada many times he says, you cannot imitate Haridas Thakur. Prabhupada says, if you try to imitate Haridas Thakur, you will simply sleep. Correct? 16 rounds only we are sleeping. And what about 64 rounds? So if we simply do the sadhana and we don't have the adhikar to do that, then we'll simply sleep. As somebody was saying, it will be simply a show. And the other important point is, as we will see in the further verses also, that in order for one to actually have a taste for the chanting, for the Krishna Katha, it requires grace. Because, as we were discussing yesterday, who makes the subject matter ever fresh? Super soul. The super soul makes the subject matter fresh. So it is the super soul who gives the taste. So for the super soul to give the taste, he should be pleased. And when will he be pleased? Yasya prasada bhagavat prasada. So therefore, we cannot do anything whimsically. And there could be other consequences of that also. One could become very proud, thinking that, oh, I'm chanting throughout the day, I'm reading Bhagavatam, I'm a big scholar, and this and that. Huh? Okay. So one could become simply proud of what one is doing. And then, what is the consequence of pride? Pride comes before the fall. So these are all the consequences of taking this extreme. And let's take the other extreme. The other extreme is if one thinks that, okay, I should only be doing some practical services, sadhana just neglects. What will be the consequence of that? Huh? Burnt out in which fire? Huh? Mechanical. What will become mechanical? The services, the practical services will become mechanical, materialistic. Why?
Goal is not clear.
Yes, the goal is not clear, there is no purification, so therefore one is not able to do the services in the right consciousness. If one does not do the services in the right consciousness, what will be the result of that? Okay, yes, one consequence could be offenses, one could commit offenses while performing the services. What else? Yes, the weeds could grow. Yes, the weeds, not could grow, will grow. Okay, cooperation amongst the devotees becomes difficult because the consciousness is not right. Yes, develop fruitive mentality while doing the services. Yes, he could become proud. Oh, I'm doing so much service. Oh, these people are wasting time studying Bhakti Vaibhav. Huh? What's that? Huh?
Lazy fellows.
Okay. So who will call whom lazy?
He is doing the service.
They will call the others lazy. Yes, that's correct. So they become proud. They'll say, oh, these lazy people, they don't do any service. We are doing all the service. And then, when the service is not performed in proper consciousness, what will happen? All these things will happen. But he can't continue the service also. Because the service will become a burden. There's a very famous lecture which Srila Prabhupada gave in Mayapur in 1974.
Galagra.
Yes, the Archa Vigraha will become Galagraha. So he says if there is no regular hearing and chanting, then you will say, why my old spiritual master has given me this huge burden to carry. Then how long one will carry the burden? Some point one has to give it up. And then of course Srila Prabhupada goes on to say in that same lecture, he says that, so in our temples, if there is no regular hearing and chanting, these big buildings will simply become a place where pigeons will come, make their nests and pass too. So therefore, the program which Srila Prabhupada himself has given us is a very balanced program. And that balance always needs to be maintained. The tendency in this world is to go off balance. Always the tendency is there to go off balance. But then the endeavor always has to be in balance, to come back to that balanced life. So that Srila Prabhupada has given us a balanced program. So, morning, evening especially, sadhana program, remembrance of Krishna. And then during the day, practical services. So while doing the sadhana, focus on the sadhana properly, focus on attentive chanting of the holy names, attentive hearing of the Bhagavatam class. So focus on the sadhana, and while doing the sadhana, and then one will be able to do the services in the right consciousness. And so by doing both sadhana and services in the right consciousness, one attracts grace, one attracts mercy, and then one will be able to progress. And so therefore, what is being said here is that all the occupational duties that one is doing, whether conditional duties or constitutional duties, should lead to Vishvaksena Katasu Rati, should lead to an increased taste in our devotional practices. So that's a sign of progress. So if one is feeling, even after quite a few years, if one is still feeling attending Mangalarti is a burden, chanting is such a big burden, when will the 16 rounds be over? And Bhagavatam class, we will sit somewhere behind. And who is going to see? I have my mobile or my laptop and I can do so many things. Namesake, I will sit. So, if this is the attitudes that we are having and we are maintaining, then that means we are not making much progress. So, progress means the taste should increase, the enthusiasm should increase. The enthusiasm to do the sadhana, the enthusiasm to render service, everything should increase. But if it's not happening, then there's a problem. There's a problem. That's what is being said here. So the rati has to increase, the taste has to increase for all our devotional practices. It has to increase. Then we can understand that yes, then we are performing the dharma properly. Both conditional duties, constitutional duties, we're performing our dharma properly. The test is whether the taste, because ultimately what's our goal? What's our ultimate goal? What's the qualification to achieve that? Prema, yes. Prema Pumarto Maha. The ultimate goal is prema. So, when there is love, then automatically taste increases. When there is love, then automatically one likes to do what Krishna loves. What Krishna loves, if I love Krishna, then what Krishna likes, I will like to do. Right. So I will like to serve Krishna, I will like to chant his holy names because I love Krishna. So if my love towards Krishna is increasing, then my love for performing all activities in relation to Krishna should increase. Very simple. So that should be the goal of the practice of. Any clarifications on this discussion? Yes.
One of the class I have heard that there was one Srila Prabhupada disciple. So Prabhupada has given him some service and he was not able to chant. I heard from Krishna in 2014 disciple. So Prabhupada told him, you do whatever service I have told you, I will maintain you. But he was telling Prabhupada, I am not able to chant and I want to chant. He started chanting during the service of Prabhupada. Then after some time, he left the movement also. Like, no, what, how to see this perspective?
Okay, so you may be referring to that particular instant. There was this sannyasi in Vrindavan who was counting cement bags. He was involved in the construction, and in those days, cement was this comes in the Lilamrit. So cement was more precious than gold because there was a rationing of cement, and the government was not releasing. So, and that time the construction of the Krishna Balaram temple was taking place. And so as the cement bags were coming in the trucks, so then the sannyasi who was there, he had to make sure that the appropriate number of cement bags are there and make sure that it's stored and all that. So he was very much involved with all this. And so then he was complaining that I've come to Vrindavan to chant the holy names, now I'm counting cement bags. So Prabhupada said, no, this is your service, you do that. So, of course, there's no mention that Srila Prabhupada ever told him, don't chant 16 rounds. No, I don't think so he told him that. And I'm sure Srila Prabhupada would never have told him that. Now, this disciple definitely wanted to do something more than that. So he wanted to spend most of the day doing chanting and maybe reading Bhagavatam and doing all those activities which one would like to do in a dham. No, Prabhupada said, okay, you do the required sadhana and then rest of the day do the service. So that's what is expected. That is what is expected. So that's the balanced program that we're talking about. And if one has received a specific instruction from the spiritual master like that, then definitely one should do that. Okay?
Is the problem is in balancing both?
Yes, usually that's where the problem is. The problem is in balancing, and while balancing, doing it in the proper consciousness.
When we balance properly, then consciousness.
Yes, yes. But still, while performing the activities, either of sadhana or of seva, then one should try to improve the quality. So then, if it's done mechanically again, then it won't yield the desired results. So one should also focus on the quality, because again, Krishna wants love, and love means quality, sacrifice. These are the symptoms of love.
This balance varies from individual. When Bhaktivinoda Thakur's report 8 hours service.
There could be individual at an individual level, there could be some variations, but in general, the principle of balance applies for everyone. For everyone, Srila Prabhupada has said, chanting 16 rounds, attending the morning program, attending the Bhagavatam class, reading the Bhagavatam. These are common instructions for everyone. Correct? Nobody can say that, I won't even do this basic amount of sadhana. Nobody can say that. This everyone has to do. Now, as far as other services are concerned, then that could vary from individual to individual. So some may be given more practical services, some may be given less. Some may have services which are more Brahmanical, some may have other services, other types of. So types of services depends upon psychophysical nature, and that could vary from person to person. But in general, a balanced program definitely is essential for everyone. Right. Yes, Nimananda Prabhu, would you like to comment on the discussion? You should comment also. Sundar Prabhu, if you would like to say something, please. Or Hemgiri Prabhu, all experienced devotees.
Prabhuji, this while doing service, sometimes one devotee had asked a question that Prabhuji, now our process is to remember Krishna whole day. So while doing services also, I wish to, make sure that I am trying to remember Krishna. And for that, then two things happen. One is that complex services which involves dealing with many people or remembering many things, ye karna hai, wo karna hai, aise karna hai, that I don't like. Or other thing that happens is that so much service is there because of which I am not able to remember Krishna. So now this looks very genuine that the devotee wish to remember Krishna, which is correct. So then what should be done? And at the same time, you just now telling that quality of service is the thing. So remembering Krishna is important, quality of service is important. Can you please?
What do you think?
I was thinking that we are not on that level, but then I could not answer myself this, that if somebody wished to remember Krishna while doing his services, remembering Krishna's pastimes or holy names or something, some way. So then how to? That is also correct. Only looking like.
So that's just approve. Bolo.
To my understanding, such kind of remembrance of Krishna is yesterday also we were discussing that the Paramatma becomes one of the major factor of giving that inspiration. And if we artificially try to just remember Krishna, that may not last for long, because that also, if the heart is not cleaned enough and we are not mature, then artificially just remembering Krishna for the sake of remembering without acquiring love for Krishna, that becomes little artificial.
Okay, good, thank you. Give to him, give.
One example I remember is of Tamal Krishna Maharaj. So Tamal Krishna Maharaj had also complained once to Prabhupada that Prabhupada, you have engaged me in so much of services and all the time, I have to think about his management issues and all. So how will I ever remember Krishna, especially while chanting and all, at the time of death? Prabhupada told him, you don't worry, at the end of your life, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will enter your mind.
Yes, correct. Okay. Okay, I would like to give one example. Just like somebody is cooking. So somebody is cooking for the deities, and so he wants to remember Krishna while cooking. So in order to increase his remembrance of Krishna while cooking, he is playing lecture. Some lecture, Prabhupada's lecture. Some lecture he is playing. And why is playing the lecture? To remember Krishna. And so he is hearing the lecture and maybe he's remembering Krishna, but as he's cooking and hearing, he burns the preparation. Because he's so absorbed in remembering Krishna. So he burns the preparation. So, what do you say about this?
Then I will not take this service, which is like this bothering service.
No. We are not talking about whether to take this. This is the situation. This is the situation that the person he wants to remember Krishna. So for remembering Krishna, he has put on a lecture. And then as he's listening to the lecture and cooking, he burns the preparation. So is this remembrance of Krishna right?
No.
Why?
Because my remembrance of Krishna is not for my own enjoyment, but for pleasing him.
That's the point.
Sabji is not pleasing to Krishna, it's burnt. In order to use of my remembering.
So what's the purpose of the cooking?
To please the Lord.
To please Krishna. The remembrance of Krishna is for what? To please Krishna. Therefore the goal should be kept in mind. Not that I'm trying to remember Krishna and I forget the goal of the service itself. Therefore, by trying to maintain the quality of the service, that itself is remembrance of Krishna. Just like, therefore, in the Bhagavad Gita, what Krishna is saying? Patram pushpam phalam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachati tadaham bhakti uparitam ashnami prayatatmana. So Krishna, what does he want? He wants bhakti. He wants the love and devotion. And doing a service with love means what? Maintaining the quality of that service. That's the love. So if one is cooking, then maintaining the quality of the cooking to please Krishna, that is the manifestation of love. If one is doing book distribution, trying to distribute books in the best possible way to please Krishna, is a manifestation of love. So, if somebody is sitting at a book table and he wants to remember Krishna, he has his headphones on and he's sitting at the book table and he's saying, I'm trying to remember Krishna. What do you say?
Here he should be focused on pleasing Krishna and distributing the books.
Exactly. So therefore, how to remember Krishna is not something that can be done whimsically. Therefore, everything needs guidance. Otherwise, one will have one's own whimsical ways of trying to remember Krishna and please Krishna. And therefore, when one is doing sadhana, quality sadhana. When one is doing seva, practical services, quality services. Everything has its proper time. And so, ultimately, by quality sadhana and quality seva, one attracts Krishna's mercy. And by Krishna's mercy, there will be remembrance of Krishna. Therefore, our main focus, as we'll be studying in the further verses also, the main focus is how to please. How to please. That's our entire goal. How to please Guru and Krishna. How to attract their mercy. That's the ultimate point. If that's not the goal, then any other way of trying to remember Krishna whimsically will not lead to the desired effect or the desired results. And so therefore, yes, remembrance of Krishna is our goal, but the remembrance of Krishna has to be done in accordance to the process laid down by the acharyas. So, once one devotee asked Srila Prabhupada, maybe it's in one of the letters also in the Vedas, it should be there. So he asked, so while a pujari is doing arti on the altar, what should he think about? So Prabhupada said, what to think? Krishna is there right in front of you. What else to think? The goal is what? The goal is remembrance of Krishna. Krishna is in front of you. Then what else will you think? So, the focus of the pujari is to focus on Krishna, who's in front. There's no need to think of something else, isn't it? Something else is a distraction. At that point of time, the service is to think of Krishna who's in front. The point is, okay, let's give this other example which we give quite often. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was glorifying Raghav Pandit as if he had 5 mouths. Why? Why? Everyone knows the story of Raghav Pandit? No? What? If you want to tell one quality of Raghav Pandit in that pastime, what is that one quality which was maintaining? Yes, he was maintaining cleanliness. First class cleanliness. That's what he was maintaining. So somebody may say, was he remembering Krishna? Why was he maintaining cleanliness? To please Krishna. So he is maintaining cleanliness to please Krishna, automatically goes to show that he was remembering Krishna. Therefore he was maintaining the cleanliness. So of course, at the stage of Raghav Pandit, such an elevated devotee, maybe he was actually, definitely he could actually remember Krishna while he was doing his service. But we may not be on that platform to actually remember Krishna. Our minds may not be focused on Krishna per se, but by trying to focus on the quality of service with the intention to please Krishna is also as good as remembering Krishna. And while doing so, by doing so, when one attracts Krishna's mercy and when one gets purified, then as one progresses on the path of devotional service, then on the higher stages of ruchi and asakti, at these stages then the actual remembrance of Krishna becomes natural.
One more question on this purport. When I was reading through this purport, I was thinking then what is the use of varnashram dharma? Because Nat Padayadi Ratim Shramevi Kevalam.
Yes.
Whole varnashrama looks to me then Shramevi Kevalam.
So what is the purpose of varnashram? Today morning only His Holiness Subal Swami Maharaj was quoting a verse. What is that? Varnashramacharvata Purushena Parapuman Vishnur Aradhyati Panta Nanyat Tattva. Or, as the verse will come here also, Atha Pumbi Dvaja Shreshta Varnashrama Vibhagaja Swanashtasa Dharmasya Samsiddhi Haritoshana. What is the purpose of Varnashram?
To please Krishna. Satisfy Krishna.
Who has created Varnashram? Chaturvarnyam Maya Shrishtam. Krishna has created Varnashram. What is Varnashram? Because I have my influence of the modes, which is causing me to have different propensities, psychophysical nature. Therefore, I cannot do anything and everything. I have got my nature, and so therefore engage the nature in Krishna's service so that one can remember Krishna. So if I engage my nature in Krishna's service, it's easier to remember Krishna, correct? If there's a devotee who has absolutely no tendency for management, just to give an example, he has absolutely no propensity, no taste in doing any type of managerial service, and he is given managerial service. He said, have to do it. There's a need of the hour. So as this devotee will be chanting the holy names in the morning, what will happen in his mind?
Managerial things will come into mind.
Why?
Because that service he has not done.
Isn't too much of anxiety, because that's not his nature. And so therefore, there's over anxiety. Some anxiety everyone has, some distraction, that's fine. But then, of course, it's not fine, but what to do? But then, if someone just doesn't have that propensity, then his mind will simply be agitated. He cannot even do some basic level of sadhana because of over agitation of the mind. So therefore, Krishna says, relax. You do service according to your propensities and remember Krishna. So what is the purpose of Varnashram? To remember. All rules and regulations are ultimately meant for that purpose.
So then this Varnashram Dharma Prabhuji, as I remember reading Gurujan Prabhu's book, 3rd chapter 9 shloka around that, Yagya Karma, there he was mentioning that how this Varnashrama somebody practices, it's very slow. It may thousands and thousands of years, thousands and thousands of births it may take for a person to reach the level of Brahmana.
Correct.
So in that individual births, is it all accepted? Of course, we are not talking yet about Bhakti path, the Gaudiya Vaishnavism path. For that people only. So that is what it is that go so slow that in that life.
So yes, so now the Varnashram is a tool. Okay. So now how one uses it is based upon the level of the person. Okay. So one can, while performing one's Varnashram duties, one can go by the step-by-step process, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. One can go by step-by-step process. Or while performing Varnashram duties, one can directly take to the Bhakti path. So it depends on what's the level of the person. Okay?
So Prabhuji, then if the devotee while doing the quality of, focusing on the quality of the service, he has to ensure that I don't start doing services more for my sense gratification or the result of service I use for my sense gratification. If these two things are taken care, then focusing on the quality of service is equal to tantamount to remembering Krishna. Am I understanding correctly?
Yes.
Thank you.
Hare
Krishna. So, very nicely you were mentioning that at the time of sadhana, we should perform quality sadhana, at the time of seva, quality seva. So then if you can explain about Ma Manusmara Yudhyacha then. So is that only in the beginning that one prays and then goes ahead with the service? Or then at every, different intervals, then one has to pray to keep that consciousness. Otherwise then again the material consciousness will keep into it.
Yeah, so then it depends how long is the service. So we have a 1 hour class. Okay, so at the beginning of the class we offer prayers. Now that every 15 minutes we offer prayers. Correct. If you have a service which lasts for 1 month, then I think so it's good to offer prayers in between. Correct. So then it depends. But then in any case, therefore, if you're talking about a 1 month service, or of course a service is throughout a life, so therefore every day to maintain the right consciousness, therefore what we have to do? What do we do? Chant the holy names, hear the Bhagavatam class. So this is what we are doing to maintain the right consciousness while doing the service. That's where the balance comes in. And that's why we're doing that every day. That's why we need to do it every day. So that every day as we do our other practical services, we are in the right consciousness and we're able to remember Krishna.
Then let's say you give example of a devotee doing book distribution. So he is hearing lecture. So that book distribution service, let's say if it goes in marathon month for let's say 6 hours. So then it's not that just that we do some prayers or something in the beginning only.
Okay, fine. So you can pray in between. So who's stopping you?
But then the quality of the service would be
so what do you mean? So while doing the book distribution, you stop the book distribution for 1 hour in between and offer prayers?
Not offer prayer, but some hearing some lecture in between half an hour.
So that's what. So if it's marathon month and he's out on the street, how can you expect him to take half an hour off in between just to hear a lecture? I don't know if it's practical. Especially if it's a marathon.
So that's not practical.
So best is chant 16 good rounds in the morning, go out for book distribution. That solves the purpose. And of course in between in the mind one can always offer prayers. Okay? Hare Krishna, time for a break. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.